Well, hello there, fabulous Sama Dog community. Welcome back to our Sama Saturdays, our monthly show where we focus on holistic wellness and lifestyle for our animal friends. And my name, by the way, is Amanda Reese. Sometimes I forget to introduce myself here, thinking everyone knows who I am. And I am the founder of Sama Dog. I am a certified educator of Ayurveda, meditation, and yoga. I specifically apply that to our animal companions. That's what really essentially Sama Dog is all about. And today, each Sama Saturday, we take on a new topic. Today, our topic is BEAM. And let me get my proper banner up here to be able to show you. BEAM is a fabulous assessment tool that you will learn from this amazing woman right here, Dr. Christina Chambreau. Hello, Dr. Christina. Thank you for being here with us.
Oh, you're so welcome. I'm glad to be here.
And she's so much fun to learn from. You all will experience her in just a moment. She's been with us a few times now. And so what BEAM is, and she'll explain more about that, of course, but this is a very important assessment tool for a conscious pet parent, which we know you are, to understand even better your pet's wellness and to be able to extend their life, to support their longevity. And we'll get into all of those details. These kinds of tools are essential to our understanding and our connection with our animal friends. So I do want to mention that Dr. Christina is also going to be joined by Dr. Jeff Feinman. He will be here a little bit later in our show. And these are two of the fabulous homeopathic vets, actually, both of them are, that are going to be joining us for our De-Stress with Your Pet event next weekend. So exactly a week from today, next Saturday, the 14th, we will be having a virtual retreat. We're really excited about it. We will, it's De-Stress with Your Pet, 1 day retreat to unwind and gain resilience. So, like to restore yourself. The idea of this course or this 1 day experience is to really have a lot of hands on time and like a very practical application of multiple methods, at least 15. We're guaranteed to deliver to you, that are methods of calming stress hormones, of increasing your immune system, of boosting your overall wellness for yourself and your animal friends. We know that these days in all of our lives have been a bit tumultuous the last couple of years. Everyone I talk to has something going on that's pretty significant in their life and has brought about some stress. So this is our way to give back to you, to give you a special day to share with your animals and to be able to have a ton of resources to move forward from that. So our intention is that it's very unique. So Dr. Christina and Dr. Jeff will be two of our veterinarians on there, along with like 5 other practitioners as well. So I will.
Do you have a
Yeah.
little tag to put up for that?
Here we
Yeah.
go. Here's a link where you can head over there. And I also, as soon as I stop talking, I'll go ahead and put that in the chat box as well. So you all can just click it and link right through. So without further ado, let me just say that Dr. Christina is a highly experienced homeopathic veterinarian since 1983. She's a lecturer and an author and is part of the Academy of on the faculty at the Academy of Holistic Actions, which is the fabulous organization that Sama Dog has teamed up with to create this event for next weekend, Dr. Jeff being the founder of that organization, who will be joining us, as I mentioned. So I will just go ahead and turn it over to Dr. Christina. Do let us know that you're here, everyone. Let us know that you're here, where you're watching from. And as questions come up throughout, definitely let us know. We want this to be really conversational and casual today. So Dr. Christina, I'll turn it over to you. Thank you again for all of your wisdom that you're going to share with us.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Amanda, for doing this. Sama Dog is wonderful. It's a great resource for people. I'd love to have people post, in addition to where you're from, post what animals are in your life. You have dogs, cats, parrots, horses. Because while we'll be focusing more on dogs and cats today, what I'm talking about really applies to people and every animal, and probably could be extended to plants as well. So what I found in my 40 years of being a veterinarian and practicing and doing holistic medicine for the last 35, 40 years is that everybody, whether you've heard of holistic or not, or you've been doing holistic for a long time, one of the major causes of stress, of concern, of worry is, am I doing the right thing? What's the right thing to be doing for my animals? And Initially, most of us came to people like me, a conventionally trained veterinarian, and we basically just did what I said. You need to give a heartworm preventative pill every month for the rest of their life. And I didn't explain why. I didn't explain what it did, and you didn't ask me. Some of you did for sure. So you were basically doing what I told you to do. And then more and more people in exploring health for themselves, as well as realizing that, wow, my animals seem to not be doing well after I give vaccines, after I have a little tumor, a little lump taken off, after I use the food that my veterinarian is suggesting, or that the TV is suggesting, or that conventional magazines are suggesting. So there's a wide range of coming at you of sort of how to do things. And then once you move into the holistic realm, it gets even more, because the wonderful, absolute best news about holistic medicine is that you never need to give up. There's always something else to try. Ups. But that's also the bad news, because the bad news is there's so much to select from. What am I going to, which one am I going to choose next? Do I need anything? Are my animals really healthy now or not healthy? So part of it is what we're going to talk about at the de-stress workshop, which is to de-stress yourself, not the mental thinking of what's right and what's wrong, but be in the moment, breathe, relax, different techniques for relaxing yourself. And then you can dig in and start deciding what things you want to do. So Dr. Feinman, Dr. Jeff, created a wonderful acronym for us. It's called BEAM. And it's shining the light, beaming the light on your animal's health. So it actually, if you're shining this, so first off, what BEAM stands for is behavior, energy, appetite, and mood. A lot of us don't know if our animal's getting ill until they're really sick. But imagine if you're paying attention to BEAM and you're shining this light on your animals. Imagine if you notice, the last couple of weeks, I don't think that Susie's been as active as she usually is. Well, maybe it's because she's 9 years old. Nope, don't ever use the years passing as the reason or the rationale as to why anything is happening. So at that point, you've noticed that something's going down, or maybe you notice that your cat, who has been doing really well on the new raw food diet that you've started, is starting to have a picky appetite, or there's some odd behaviors starting. And they can be obvious ones, of course, like urinating in the wrong place, or urinating or defecating in the house, could be things like that. But more likely, they're subtle things. Things like they used to come running into the house to greet you, running to the door to greet you when you first came in. And now they're not doing that. Maybe they show up or they don't show up. So that's one big use of BEAM, is to tell that something's off. Now, you may not, and a conventional veterinarian at this point would go, oh, well, it's just the ages. It's just how old, how many years have passed. But you will know, hey, no, I need to be doing something different. Now, there's a lot that you can do yourself that you can learn to do. So, for instance, say you've become a member of Holistic Actions and you've read that there are different supplements that you could be using to boost health in general. And it's your dog who has sort of not as energetic and just not quite present. So you think, okay, I'm going to try one of these supplements. Well, here's the second use of BEAM, is to assess, how did this choice I've made for health, how good is it? How is it helping my animal? And it's not just any one symptom, but it's looking at the overall quality of life. Now, if your only symptom was a little decrease in energy and attitude, and you start a supplement, and within a week, you notice, wow, Susie's back to her normal, healthy self. I'm thrilled. So then you have to decide, do I want to continue this supplement or can I stop it? So you may want to step back and think about what could have caused her to not be feeling as good. You may want to continue the supplement, at least for a while, and then stop it. And then you pay attention to Beam again. Has the energy level started to decrease? Or maybe one of the others, maybe the appetite's gotten funky. And if over time you have some symptoms, either regular symptoms like maybe goop in the corner of the eyes, or you're seeing tartar, things you might want to go to a veterinarian for. And in addition, the Beam is not doing well, then at that point, you may want to seek some holistic veterinary care to move you more in the right direction. Or if you've been doing a lot here with Sama Dog and you've been learning about Ayurvedic medicines and Ayurvedic approaches, you might try a few more things yourself. And maybe the itchiness of your dog will go away. And you notice that their energy, that their Beam is better. So then you could stay that path. Or you try a treatment and the itching goes away, but the Beam gets worse. The mood changes, or the appetite's off, or all of them get off. Then you know that whatever treatment or lifestyle change that you've selected is not the best for your animal at this time. And so it's useful to have a timeline in addition to using Beam, is to go back as far as you can remember, and particularly for any episode of the problems that are going on, is you go back and you see, when did that start? What was going on? And then how was the Beam? Then next step is, I've tried this treatment. How did the Beam change? How did the symptoms change? And then you move on to the next treatment and the next treatment. And as long as the Beam is improving and your animal is feeling better and better, and the symptoms are slowly getting better, then you're doing well and you can continue what you're doing. Once the symptoms are all gone, the next step is to go back to using Beam as a clue that that something's happening, an early warning sign, a nice marker. And once you start paying attention to Beam, you notice it all the time. So one warning is, don't overthink this. Don't get too worried when the Beam changes. Just monitor it. Pay attention. Have you ever had a bad day? Have you ever had a day you just don't feel so good and don't have a lot of energy? Absolutely. So that happens with our animals as well. And you may want to just address meditating and calming yourself, and then see what happens to the Beam. Does it recover in a couple of days? Or you might want to try some other suggestions that you've seen on the internet from your holistic veterinarian, or that you found on the Holistic Actions Academy website. So even if Oliver, one of the dogs of somebody who's listening, even if Oliver is doing great and then has a bad day or two, don't worry. Just hang in there and pay attention and see what then changes. So that's really the key. Now, I'm listening. I haven't seen, let's see, are there any questions coming up yet?
No more, just
Not yet.
introductions of everyone who's here. So thank you. Do let us know as you're jumping on with us that you're here. Let us know what pets you have in your life, animal friends. And I want to welcome Dr. Jeff. He's come on and joined us. As I mentioned earlier, I did give a little introduction of you, Dr. Jeff, as the founder of Holistic Actions and an extraordinary veterinarian and a microbiologist. So, he has so much wisdom inside, and he is the creator of this philosophy of Beam, as Dr. Christina shared. I see behind you there's even some cool art about Beam. So Dr. Jeff, welcome to Sama Saturday. Thank you for jumping in here with us.
Oh, thank you for having me. And Dr. Christina, I'm sorry that I interrupted your incredibly wonderful Beam
You didn't interrupt.
description. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Amanda, for having me.
Yes, of course. And Dr. Jeff, I know Dr. Christina just explained, of course, but in your words as well, what is the primary reason we want to learn and utilize Beam?
Yeah, the two factors that Dr. Christina said are, early detection of the disease and evaluation of the response. And it also allows us, in my mind, to reframe the problem where we see that the symptoms are not the problem. The Beam is really more of an issue. So even if there are symptoms, if the Beam is good, that may not be much of a problem per se. But if the Beam is low and there are no symptoms, then you may want to consider having it addressed by a veterinarian right away. Yeah, I just see it as the energy balance, the internal energy balance. That's why we focus on vitality and Beam, because those two things together just work real well together.
And just to share again with everyone who may just be joining us, Beam, what it stands for: behavior, energy, appetite, and mood. And you are assessing, as the vets are sharing, you're assessing each of those to understand, most importantly, as I said here in my little banner, is what's working and what isn't working. Otherwise, there are so many options and a lot to choose from. And, we don't really know which combination is suitable for this animal at this time. What maybe was appropriate for your animal 2 years ago might not be, of course, what they need or what's working right now. So the Beam assessment is so important. So is that what you recommend, is like on a daily basis, we're keeping this in the front of our mind?
It is. And like I said, do it on a daily basis. It just becomes second nature, but don't fuss about it. Don't worry too much about it. And things change and they need different stimuli, depending not just over the years, but even seasonally. So for instance, Oliver in Oregon may need different foods, supplements, exercise, snuffle mats, indoor, outdoor, whether it's the winter wet, rainy season or the summer hotter weather, or if you have Goldens and cats, the Goldens are going to need, a different, each one of them may need a different approach. So one of the key things that Beam does is allow you to do a critical piece of improving longevity and vitality for our animals. And that critical piece is individualizing treatment. So just because Goldens have a reputation for being friendly, you may have a Golden who's a little standoffish. And so initially you might think, oh, that's a bad mood. That's not good Beam. But then you think about it and he's always been that way. Now, sometimes that means they were sort of out of balance and low vitality from even when they were a young puppy. Sometimes it's after they have learned more what is individual for that animal. And as you treat them and improve what's specific for that Golden, you may then discover that the mood changes and they no longer are trying sort of a little standoffish and they become more like a friendly Golden, or the opposite can happen. And we actually can have friendly Goldens start being not friendly. And then that's a clue that something might be going on. You might want to share, Dr. Jeff, for a moment of what your first dog,
Vanya.
yeah, talk about Vanya and how that changed when Archie came in.
That's a beautiful story. Yeah, Vanya was a rescue that Dr. Christina mentioned, and she was a dog that liked only to be off by herself. Actually, she preferred to be, left alone in her crate. If one of us walk into the room where she is, she'd walk out. She didn't want to play. She didn't want to interact really in any way. And then Archie is another dog that we rescued who's like just a actually that's Archie back there. Fun-loving, happy dog that engaged Vanya in such a way that her beam totally shifted and that she became a happy, interactive dog. And that was seen not only by her what she did, but also by her behavior and her smiling and her happiness at all times. So her beam was better.
So that really changes things. It's like things can change over time. Now, on the other hand, I've had clients who had cats who were just needed so much attention from their owners. And they had some illnesses as well. And as we cured the illnesses, this super friendly, sort of glued on cat turned into a little bit of a crab. And so the healthy behavior for that cat was to be pretty assertive and a little bit whacking at people, like, you do it my way, please. And that was normal for that cat. So it really is important for you to not make a judgment about what's normal and not normal in any one moment. So even though you're evaluating Beam every day, keep a look at the bigger context. What's going on in life? So there was a cat that I'd been treating for renal failure with homeopathy, responding really well. She was now 18, and we started treating a few years before. And her parent called me and said, "Oh, she's not doing well. Her kidneys seem to be okay. She's eating and she's not urinating too much, but she's just miserable." So I didn't know the phrase beam back then, but she was expressing that the beam was bad. Now I have to make a decision, and the pet parent has to make a decision. Do we need to do more homeopathic treatment, or what's going on? So I said, what's happening with your cat? What's happening in the household? Well, they had started remodeling the house. So the cat was being stressed, but it still wasn't getting super ill with the kidney side. It just didn't, was not behaving very well. The beam was poor. So I suggested, but you all could have come up with this on your own, I said, why don't you try some rescue remedy? And this is a flower essence that everybody should have around for emergencies. And they put a drop or two in the water bowl, which I no longer recommend doing because of this cat. They put 4 drops in the cat's water bowl, because normally we do 4 drops in an ounce of water and then dose from that. So that sounded pretty good. And the cat, for the first time ever in its life, walked over to the water bowl and knocked it over. Very smart person, cleaned the bowl, put 3 drops in. Cat walked over, knocked over the water bowl. Put 2 drops in, stalked by the water bowl, put 1 drop in, and started drinking it voraciously. So the cat then went on to do fine throughout all of the house remodeling. So using Beam and stepping back and looking at the context of what's going on can be very useful. And Rita Bray made a comment that she finds it helpful to keep a journal to record changes that she sees in behavior. And not just in behavior, but also in all of Beam, appetite, energy level, and specific symptoms that are being treated. So when clients asked me for decades to write a book, and I said, there are plenty of good holistic health for animal books out there. I don't have that much more to say on that. But I realized that what was missing and I've sort of talked about it occasionally here, was a journal, a way to easily keep track of your animal symptoms. So members of Holistic Actions are able to get that journal. You can order it from my website, and Dr. Jeff has one right on hand. There you go. Now, even though there's a cat on the cover, it's a frame, and you put a picture of your cat or dog on there. So we chose a cat because we knew people who had dogs were willing to tolerate the picture of a cat on the cover. We weren't so sure that people with cats would be willing to tolerate a dog even for a moment on the cover. So that can be very useful for you. And in other areas, and that way you can track the beam and you can look to see what's going on in general. Now, one of the things that we'll be talking about and demonstrating in the de-stress workshop on the 14th is how you can do more than just use beam, which is fairly qualitative, but you can actually quantify what's going on with your dogs and cats by learning to do physical exams on them. 2 points to this, and both of them will decrease your stress and, more importantly, the stress of your animals. How many of you have taken your animals to the veterinarian and the vet has to sedate them or hold them hard or, really struggle, or you're given medication to give, herbal medication, or could be many different types, or conventional, and your animal just won't let you touch them and work with them? Or you want to really see if the reason they're having a little trouble eating is, do they have an ulcer in the back of their mouth? And you go to try to look and they won't let you do that. So by learning and starting now at whatever age your animals are, starting now to learn to do a physical exam in a way that makes them want you to do it. Oh, I'm going to get to play with them afterwards. Every time they do some physical exam on me sitting on that chair, I get to have a Frisbee day. And so they'll let you clean their eyes, look in their eyes. They'll let you lift their lip and do capillary refill. They'll let you brush their teeth easily. They'll let you clean out their ears. They'll let you you can learn how to use a stethoscope yourself. It's not that hard. You may have to have a vet tech or a veterinarian help you the first time to establish what you're actually hearing. And so as you keep track of the beam, you can also quantitatively keep track of other symptoms. And as Rita said, in keeping a journal, you can then track how that changes over time. One of the things that I find that really people are really concerned about is, again, as I said at the beginning, am I making the right choice? And is there anything that can be done to help the problems my animal has right now? And the answer to that is there is always something to help. Now, it may not be able to completely resolve the problems. I got a call today from someone whose 2 or 3-year-old cats, 2 of them, suddenly 2 weeks ago became very ill in multiple different ways. And when they went into the veterinarian, both of them had cancer throughout their body, had tumors in different parts of their body. And so she was asking me, is there anything that can be done to help the quality of life? Steroids were already helping. Within 1 day, the cats felt better, but she knew that wouldn't be enough. So what else could she be doing? Was there anything? And so the good news is there was a lot that she could do to at least improve the quality of life. And cancer is rampant these days. One of our speakers, I think, said that over 50% of dogs get cancer. And so it is an issue to deal with. And one of the suggestions I gave her was to look at one of our faculty members, Gail Pope of Brighthaven, brighthaven.org, has put together a hospice program. Now, interestingly, we mostly think about hospice just in the last few months of an animal being ill. The good news is when you're using holistic approaches in hospice, sometimes they completely turn around and go on to live for many, many, many more years. A cat I was treating that had severe kidney failure, but could not, they had to sedate him to draw blood. The owner no way could do sub-Q fluids. And this was a cat that the veterinarian said should be euthanized within like the next day or two. They said this cat will be miserable and suffering. And so she came to me, and we were hospicing the cat at that point because he was so sick. But however, when we started using the holistic approaches and homeopathy, the cat within 2 or 3 months completely turned around and lived to be 21, along with continued hospice care. So this cat immediately on treatment, the beam improved. So the behavior of the cat improved. The energy level of the cat improved a little bit. And over the months, the energy level got better than it had ever been. The appetite, often cats with kidney problems have very poor appetite and very picky. So the appetite improved, and the cat was now eating a raw food diet of a wide variety of things. And the cat's general mood, he was happier. Now, he never became to the point where she could give him sub-Q fluids, where she could treat him, where she could do a physical exam. He always stayed, I'm me and don't touch me. Pet me, but don't treat me. Don't do anything to me. So his mood didn't shift in that way, but he just was happier. And he didn't want to be touched and handled, but he wanted to be petted, but not handled. But his mood improved. So that's another example of how she and I knew that we were on the right track with the homeopathic remedy and the food and the flower essences and maybe working with an animal intuitive. So when there are so many approaches that you can try as a pet parent trying holistic methods, and even when you're using some conventional, it's called integrative medicine, you can use your intuition and think, which one of these 4 things do I want to start with? And then you evaluate the specific symptoms that you've quantified. You've measured the lump. You've written down how many times the animal coughs a day. You've written down the number of hairballs that are that show up and how big they are, the amount of vomiting. And then you pick a treatment. And first you want to see the beam improve. And then eventually the symptom will continue to improve. If the symptom goes away and the beam goes down, that's not a good sign. So you want to shift to adding in another modality or switching modalities. So it's both, again, good for early warning and good to evaluate the response. You have umpteen choices of your responses, of your umpteen choices of treatments, and this helps you fine tune. Maybe one's helping for a while, and then you go, I wonder if I need to keep doing this supplement. Does my dog who used to have inflammatory bowel disease still need to be on probiotics and fecal transplants? How can I tell? I know, I'll stop the probiotics and see what happens to the beam. So that's a great way to do it. So, Dr. Jeff, you want to make any comments?
The only comment I would make is on what you just said as far as fine-tuning, because that's exactly what we're doing. We're seeing our pets' bodies as instruments, as musical instruments. We're fine-tuning them using the beam. So the beam is like your tuning device for your pet.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Jeff, I have shared with everyone that you are going to, of course, be in our retreat, our virtual retreat next week. Dr. Christina shared a little bit about what she's going to teach about in addition to the self-exam or the physical exam. She'll also be doing some cooking. So just to give a little bit of preview, what are you going to share with us next week?
Well, that is a great question because it's going to be me and Dr. Brian together, and we're going to combine, we're going to get our forces together to help de-stress both your pet and you at the same time, using things like breath work, pranayama, mindset, shifting your mindset, and basically realizing that by fine-tuning, you can achieve the results that Dr. Christina just mentioned, that pets that have a bad symptom or diagnosis or disease can go on to live years in hospice and years happily in hospice, or years, more than you would expect. And what we'll be talking about are strategies that we can use that actually all pretty much activate the parasympathetic, the relaxation response in the body. And the relaxation response allows both pets and people to heal optimally, because really all that we're doing with holistic medicine or Ayurveda or homeopathy is we're letting the body do its job and getting out of the way.
Yeah.
That is such an important point.
Yeah.
It really is, to remember that your choices, there's no one right or wrong choice, because what we're doing is working with each individual's body to allow them to heal themselves. And so sometimes it's getting out of the way by de-stressing ourselves. They're picking up on our stress from job and whatever else. It may be that our stress doesn't bother them at all, and that what we need to do to get out of their way is simply to let them express who they are as an individual. It may be that what we need to do is not get out of the way, but more get in their way by playing with them more and meditating with them. Like Amanda, you have meditation every Saturday, right? Or Sunday?
Sundays. Yep. Every Sunday morning, live meditations with our pets. And, we bring in a different theme each time. So it really does help us not only to have the moment right then, 20 minutes of relaxation and decompression and releasing of the stress hormones like we're talking about, but it's my intention is that it's also inspiring. Our animals can be our teachers. They can open us up to a whole new world. They could even bring out, of course, certain qualities in us. And a lot of this is happening and we don't realize it's happening. That's why we enjoy their presence so much. So that's my aim, is to really kind of focus in on different areas of life with our pets and grow from them and be able to enjoy them even more and have that time together as a community. So yeah, that's always available. People, if anyone's interested, you can always find that on the homepage of samadog.com. The link goes through right there. Sunday mornings at 7 a.m. Pacific time.
So that makes it a little bit later for you on the East Coast.
Yeah, a little more doable the further you go east. It used to be at 6 a.m. and that's when I was like, oh gosh, only people from Hawaii are joining us, or not even Hawaii. People from more like Europe were joining, and that's it.
Oh, right. So that, you make a really good point there, Amanda, is that we don't always recognize what we already know or what we're already seeing. And so it is very important that it's like being present allows us to sort of see what's going on.
Yeah,
and
really.
So that's what Beam does. Beam is just a way of saying, what's the beam today? And instead of, how are you feeling today?
Like you said, it's such a great word for it, because it brings a spotlight. And that is needed sometimes, especially in this very busy, distracting world. And our animals, our companion animals are so subtle, right? They're humble and they're kind of quiet. Even if you got a yappy one, still they kind of keep their own reality, their own circumstances. They keep it to themselves. It's almost like, my feeling is, they don't want to trouble us with their own problems. They're like, you humans have enough to deal with. Let me just manage my bladder issue on my own. And so we have to get in there and kind of let them know that it's not only safe, but look how much we can help you. Look how, that's another way that we love to share ourselves, our friendship, our compassion, and our connection to them. We want to take really good care of them. And so this allows us, as such an important tool, to know how to do that. I think for you guys too, so often I speak with my clients and it's like, gosh, like you said, there's so many options. How do I choose? How do I know? And that's where these conversations come in. That's where beam technique comes in. That's where, just learning what your options are in the first place come in, and keeping it kind of coming back to the home base with it. And that's what we'll do a lot next week, is kind of bring it back home, because home is a space of healing.
Oh, good point. Yeah.
Mhm.
And what is home for you? Home is different for every animal and every person.
Yeah.
So for some people, home is an RV on the road.
Mhm.
And for some, I had one client who said, "Do you think it's okay? I'm going to be on the road a lot. Can I bring my cat with me to all the hotels I'm staying at and everything?" This was 20 years ago. And I said, "Well, knowing your cat, yes." And so he tried one night just to test it out. And he put the cat in the car. And now, although I recommend having them in their carriers, he didn't. And his cat hopped in the car and got on the back and just sat up on the back by the back window and laid there the whole trip, or came up and talked to him occasionally. And then they got to the hotel and he put him in his carrier, carried him up to the room, opened the carrier, and the cat got out, just immediately hopped out, walked all around the hotel room into the bathroom, found his litter box, came back, and then just stood in front of his owner as if to say, "Okay, get out of here. Leave me to my room. You go do your thing."
He's enjoying his vacation.
So that was home for him.
Uh-huh.
Wherever he was with his dad was
Yeah.
home.
Yeah.
So
Sweet.
it's really wonderful to know that we can create home wherever we are.
Mhm.
And there, I hear of people, I mean, around the world, people have to leave their homes for different reasons. And sometimes it's a really big challenge. And and those who are able to keep their animals with them, it's just wonderful.
Mhm.
And so home can be provided by you for your animals.
Mhm.
And like I think you were saying, Amanda, home can be provided by the animal's quietness, their beingness for you. And
Mm.
so home can be wherever you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's
Beautifully well
important.
said. That's definitely what I aim to bring attention to in our meditations, as I said, is just like taking this moment to really just feel the specialness and the energy that comes from this relationship with our animals. And I know I'm not alone. People wouldn't be, in this conversation if they didn't resonate at some level. Like there's so much beauty that comes from the relationship that we share with our pets, but we don't even really realize. And so, yeah, if we can slow down and kind of pick it apart sometimes, or just pay attention to it, it's exponential how much it can grow. Where our attention goes, energy flows, right? And so when we bring our attention into the life with our animal in a deeper, more expansive way, suddenly everybody is better for it, and our animal, most importantly. So, Dr. Jeff, before we close today, is there anything that you'd like to share with our audience before we leave?
Nope, nothing other than thank you all for coming. And Amanda, thank you so much for having me. And Dr. Christina, thank you for your wise words.
Mhm. Yes, you both are amazing. We, as mentioned, we hope to see you all again, whether it's next Saturday at our retreat where we can all just see. We're virtual, we're on Zoom, of course, so we'll all be able to see and connect with each other. And our intention also is to have a very lighthearted, just fun connection between our community. Or we will see you at a future Sama Saturday or otherwise online. We thank all of you so much for being caring pet parents to the degree that you sit and listen to these conversations. That just shows you right there how devoted you are and the difference that you're making in the life of your animal. So we thank you from the bottom of our hearts, and we will stay in touch. Please do check out our event there, just see if it might be a fit for you. We will sell out on tickets. We don't want too many people in the event, so we can keep it intimate. So do not hesitate to sign up today, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Goodbye, my friends. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for being
Thank
here
you.
again.
Likewise.
Thank
And
you.
I'll check in and answer questions that show up on, if you post here on Facebook on this page, I'll certainly be checking it out. And if there are any that are there, or Amanda will remind me that there's one for me to answer. So if you have questions and you weren't here live you can still post your questions and we can answer them.
We'll keep a close eye. Very good point, Dr. Christina. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda.
Okay. Thanks everyone for being
Bye-bye.
here, for tuning in, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.